Thanks so much for listening to the Wild Health Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social at Wild Health MD and head over to wildhealth.com or wildhealth.com/premium to become a patient and experience precision medicine for yourself. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Stone, how's it going?
It's excellent. Now that I rescued the dog from eating the UPS guy when you called me a minute ago.
UPS guy. So I feel like we should start this this podcast with I don't know. We could start it with a couple different things. I don't think like Kristen Dawson's like Debbie Downer is appropriate. Like where it's like wah 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 wah.
It's like a moment of silence, though.
No, I disagree. I feel like it's like a no, why God kind of thing, or I don't know. I have a couple other I don't think we should use expletives because I think I've already done that a fair amount on the podcast, and that I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just we're looking at more bleeping and editing if we go that route.
Yeah,
we can get into what might be bad news.
Yeah, it's sort of bad news. So I know you love some dark chocolate.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And I love dark chocolate. I don't think I'm as passionate about it as you are. But I sent you this article mostly because I just felt bad, but I felt like it was appropriate to give to you because I care and love you so much.
I took it that way, Carl. I thought for a second you were doing it just out of like some good old-fashioned Schadenfreude. But I could tell that it was because you cared about it. So this is a recent article from Consumer Reports, and brought up something I was unaware of,
totally.
And not even on my radar about the blessing that is dark chocolate.
Yeah. So I mean, I know there's like downsides to dark chocolate, there's the sugar, it's processed. It's there's caffeine, there's theobromine, which can disrupt people's sleep, cause them a little anxiety, maybe increase heart rate. There's also there's saturated fat in there if you're trying to watch your saturated fat. If you have cholesterol issues and you have the genetics around that. But then there's other benefits. The flavonols, the antioxidant properties. There's also and this is something I knew and I just didn't make that. I guess I should have made the intellectual leap here, but I knew there was iron and copper and magnesium and zinc in dark chocolate. So,
just makes it like a multivitamin.
Yeah, I was like, it's a little multivitamin, a little
a little delicious multivitamin.
Yeah, exactly. So what I didn't know, and it sounds like you didn't know either, is the downside with lead and cadmium exposure.
Such a bummer.
Yeah, and it's not insignificant here. It's not. I don't like lead exposure. When you say any kind of lead exposure, I just generally think anything is bad in that world, and same thing with cadmium. But I guess first of all, we should back up and say that lead and cadmium are heavy metals that are that are found in the environment. They're often in soil and water, and they get absorbed by plants. They can just be hanging out in your water, but they make it into the cocoa trees and make it into chocolate. And obviously, high levels of lead and cadmium are not good for you. They affect your nervous system, your brain, kidneys, reproductive systems. Can lead to anemia. And also, in kids, the lead especially can really affect them and cause developmental delays. And even low levels of lead exposure, even 5 micrograms per deciliter, which is pretty low, is associated with lower IQs. I don't know if you do that, but it's a little disturbing.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, the lead exposure is cumulative. Right. So it's not like you need to have one, you need to, read a medical student case study and have a kid eat a piece of lead, right, and get acute lead toxicity. This is usually chronic stuff from low levels, and it accumulates because we don't detoxify lead very well. So, having I guess, safety disclaimer. Eat a bar of dark chocolate. Nothing's going to happen to you. You'll be fine. But if you're, having dark chocolate on the regular from some of the brands that Consumer Reports went through and tested, you may be exposing yourself to potentially significant lead exposure over time.
And cadmium.
And cadmium.
So they actually, they looked at a bunch of different chocolate bars and kind of broke them down into their different types or levels of exposure of in just like an ounce. And they, in a single ounce of dark chocolate, you can have, some of these were like, 200% of what they recommend your exposure be in a day. And so, which is sort of, and same thing with, they broke them down into the lead exposure, the cadmium exposure in both, and who had the lower ones. And I don't want to go into specific companies, but I recommend people, like, we'll link this in the show note and look at, and you can let your spend your dollars where you want, and let your pocketbook speak to what's important to you. But I definitely recommend that people look at this because of the risk of lead and cadmium exposure is so significant and was sort of shocking.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you outlined lead, cadmium, just another heavy metal, kidney damage, osteoporosis, increased cancer risk, high blood pressure, heart disease, lung damage, none of the things that you want. And, it's this was just like, I know you didn't want it to be a downer. It's such a downer. I love dark chocolate. The good news, I guess, if we're going to find a silver lining, is this was all like pretty high cacao content. So like if you're looking for like something more in the 55 to 60% range, probably in a safe level for lead and cadmium exposure. They also did find some brands that had lower levels of lead and cadmium that wouldn't be concerning. But so I think it's less of a eliminate dark chocolate from your life and more of a, oh, well, here's something we need to, in the same way, you're not buying inorganic or non-organic, I guess is the right term, strawberries because of the pesticide exposure. Like this is just another area where you need to be a little bit thoughtful in the grocery store and not just go for the brands you love. There is a brand that I won't mention by name just because I like them, that was a go-to for a while and is now completely verboten due to the lead and cadmium content. So
same thing happened in our house. It was my poor wife, like, cause she loves dark chocolate on the level that you do. And she was like, when I brought this to her, I think she did direct it maybe a little towards me, like it was my fault.
Yeah. Well, don't shoot the messenger, honey.
Yeah, it's just Consumer Reports' fault. They're the bad people.
All right. Well, I think we could probably wrap it up because there's other than I think take home points from today are you don't want to eat lead and cadmium in your food. Right. There are things that you don't want; they're bad for you. And we'll put a link to the report in the show notes for people to go and educate themselves. Obviously, not all brands were tested, so I guess you got to use your judgment if your particular favorite brand of dark chocolate wasn't evaluated, but. Yeah, thanks for the bad news, buddy. Really appreciate it.
No, anytime. All right. See you, man.
See ya.
Hey, everybody, a quick note about our precision medicine training program. It's been a really popular course. We're constantly hiring health coaches and physicians, but we're only hiring them as we grow if they're trained in precision medicine. You don't get that in medical school or other places. And so we've developed this training program, and we've completely revamped it recently. It's a lot more robust. So now there's still over 50 hours of live synchronous training. There's also all the asynchronous credit, over 50 hours of content. And as a physician, you get about 50 hours of AMA Category 1 CME credit, which is a nice benefit. For the health coaches going through the training program, it's now accredited by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching. So graduates are going to meet the requirement to sit for the board exam and become board certified health coaches. So there's a lot of benefits to that, not just the certification, but also when it comes to things like insurance reimbursement. So it's a really robust program. If you're a physician, a nurse practitioner, a PA, or someone that just wants to be a health coach, it's open to all of those categories. There's the 6-month program that's kind of the full program. And then we also have just a fundamentals of precision medicine course, which is completely on your own. It's online. It's all asynchronous. You still get the 50 hours of AMA Category 1, but it's self-paced. And you still have access to the online community, but not all the synchronous lectures as well. So if you're interested in checking that out, go to wildhealth.com/education. And we'd love to have you as part of our next class.